What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Today's video, we are tackling Hydra. I'm going to show you guys my Hydra team that I've been using. I really like it, and I think it's super consistent. I want to show you guys it in a bit more detail. I've been getting a lot of questions about it. So basically, this is a Titus team, and this is Nightmare difficulty, so it's top difficulty for Hydra. We are entering probably the back quarter of the run right now. Obviously, with Titus teams, if you guys, obviously have been dealing with Titus teams, it's a lot of RNG, right? So it really comes down to when your Titus gets eaten. That's kind of how much damage you're going to be performing. And that's a big negative for people that don't have a lot of time to do multiple runs and all that. Now, I will say that this team is probably not very auto friendly. However, it does run pretty good on auto. As long as Titus doesn't get eaten early, you're still going to put out some pretty decent numbers with this type of team. It's pretty consistent overall. It covers a lot of things. It runs pretty good. It's hard to kind of take out completely. So I will say that right now. But if you want maximum damage, maximum performance, you will have to manual, a little bit, right? So anyways, so you can kind of see a team here. We have Titus on the left-hand side here. We're running Owella. We have the Mad Hatter. We have Necmothar in the lead for the speed lead. We have, of course, Wixwell, Titus's tag team champion partner. And on the far right is a champion that you guys might not know. It's Insenza. So I run Insenza because she brings decreased defense and weaken. Yes, Hatter brings weaken as well, but Insenza also brings decreased defense, which is really important because our Titus only has a 3-star blessing. He doesn't have the 6-star crushing Ren, which you kind of need for like insane damage. The 6-star crushing Ren also gives him, basically more kind of team options. You can build different teams. You don't need decreased defense, for example, or less reliant on decreased defense for big damage. But in this case, we are running decreased defense with Insenza. Insenza also brings a turn meter boost, a 50% turn meter boost, as well as a bunch of buffs. Now, it's actually really good. She brings a bunch of buffs for one champion. And in this case, the way to use Insenza that I found effectively is to basically use her as a per meter booster for Wixwell in the beginning so that you can build up the shields quickly, and then use her as a turn meter booster specifically on Titus in the when the buffs are already buffed up duration wise, and then you're going to get more turns to cycle out of Titus. Now you can kind of see here we don't have like Yumiko, and we don't have any kind of team reset on this team. You can definitely run like reset champions or cooldown reduction champions. I think that might be something I want to test out. But in this case, we're kind of more focused on just overall turn meter to basically get more turns out of everybody. Because although like somebody like Lamassu kind of works, Lamassu does bring a 50% turn meter increase just like Insenza, but Insenza brings decreased defense, which is super important. I understand she's a void legendary, so not everyone's going to have her. So if you have her, definitely consider using her. She is going to be in a 9-piece protection set, which obviously gives quite a bit of damage bonus, given that she applies a bunch of buffs on a single target ability. So you apply it onto Titus, he's going to get some big damage buffs. Now I'll show you guys the whole gear stuff after the run here, but we're talking about the general gameplay here. You can kind of see we're reaching the back quarter of the run here. And yeah, just general gameplay. What we want to do is that we want to make sure we get good duration on the buffs. We want to make sure that we have decreased defense and weaken before Titus hits. We want to make sure that Hex is applied. That's the other big thing too. If you don't have Hex applied, you lose quite a bit of damage because Titus is a single target hit. He requires the Hex to do a lot of damage and to kill off the heads. You can kind of see here we hit the single decapped head and all the Hex was on everybody, and then all the Hydra heads explode. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. And because he's void affinity, you don't have to worry about affinity as well. So Titus is really great. And based on this team here, we basically have Titus, Owella, which is a fusion. Hatter was a fusion. Wixwell was a fusion. Necmo, I got him as a guarantee, but Necmo is also very replaceable. And then we have Incenza, which technically could be replaced by Lydia, for example, right? You're not going to get as many, you're not going to get the turn meter boost. You're not going to get, the big protection bonus damage, but you're going to get increased speed, which could be useful too, especially if you don't have Necmo. So if you want to go for a full like end game free to play team, you replace Necmo and Incenza with Lydia and then Lamassu. So, and then at that point, you basically have a team full of free to play and fusion champions that's doing insane amounts of damage. Like you could basically do enough to cover an entire clan's worth of damage with this one run. So, for this level of performance, you got to have something. You got to have something, right? You can't just have like KO in here with Apothecary. You got to have something. And obviously the gear's, good. It's my main account's gear, so it's pretty good. We can kind of see here, the real only trouble spots here are the head of Torment, which gives the fear. Now, the way to deal with fear with this account, or this team, sorry, is the Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter can remove the fears. The other way is to kill the fear head, the Torment head, and then gain the Veil buffs. So once you have the Veil buffs, you can extend the Veil buffs, and now your team suddenly has Veil. So that's kind of one way to do it. That obviously takes some time, takes some setup and all that. The other way to do it is with Wixwell's A3, the Intercept buff. So the Intercept buff is really good at preventing a little bit of the fear. Obviously, it's not going to prevent all of the fear. And you do have to manual it, put it on your most important champions. There's a couple AoE A1 champions on this team, Necmo and Senza. So you have to be a little bit careful with the fear head in that regards. The best thing about Titus is that he can actually just plow through this poison cloud too. So he always crits, right? He always crits when he's under a shield. So he doesn't worry about the poison cloud. The big thing with the poison cloud is that you have to get all your debuffs on before the poison cloud lands. So for example, this team doesn't have block buffs, and then it runs pretty smooth. It runs pretty smooth. So in this case, all the hexes landed, and then you just hit one decapped head, and then that's it. Through poison cloud, through everything. So that's really cool, right? Just makes it a little bit more consistent. You don't have to worry about block buffs and stuff. But block buffs obviously, is useful, but not necessary on this team. Another way to add an upgrade to this team would be somebody like Griptuck, Bad L, so you can have a Titus that hits harder. And I would say the extra champion on this team, like the replaceable champion, is probably Oella. Oella really doesn't bring too much to this team. She brings increased resistance, which is a buff. But based on the stats that I have on this team, I don't need increased resistance. I have enough resistance without increased resistance. So she really only brings a heal and a buff extension. Now, you could argue, like, just bring Mikage in here and then you're going to do more damage. Yes, that's true. Bring Mikage in here, you're going to do more damage than Oella. I use Mikage on another team, so that's a story for another video, right? But if you wanted a direct upgrade for Oella, Mikage fits perfectly fine. Bring extra crit damage and all that. So Oella is definitely a replaceable champion in this comp if you have the resistance requirements. For Nightmare Hydra, you probably need somewhere around 450 resistance. The big thing is you want 450 resistance on, I would say, Wixwell and Titus. Titus for sure, because you don't want his stuff stolen. Wixwell would be the second priority because Wixwell actually places an extra buff on himself, which is the counterattack buff, which means that he's most likely to get targeted by the Head of Mischief to have his buffs stolen. So the Head of Mischief will target Wixwell more often than somebody else, for example. And of course, you need it on Titus because you don't want Titus to lose his buff ever. So if everybody else lost their buff, as long as Titus has his buff, it's totally fine. You see Titus here, he's actually getting targeted, but he's resisting it, thank goodness, right? Because, you can lose to a 3% here and it'll be really bad. You can kind of see here, I'm nearing the 10 billion damage mark for this team, which I was like kind of sweating a little bit because I'm like, oh, let's hit it. But, I'm sweating the 3% because Titus is getting targeted here, but luckily he has resistance to cover the steel, right? So I would aim for at least 450 resistance just to cover some of the steel. And yeah, general gameplay, I mean, if you have Titus's A2 ready, just let it rip. just let it rip. There's no real point in kind of holding off here. I think you can maybe hold off a little bit better if you had like reset or cooldown reduction champions. But in this case, I think you just unload it and then just, cycle through again. So this team's actually really good just boosting turn meter. We have Oella here with turn meter boost. So actually that's something else that Oella does. She cycles through the team. So she boosts the turn meter. She has a good size turn meter boost. We have Hatter boosting turn meter. Hatter's really solid. Nekmothar boosting turn meter for the whole team. So that's the thing, right? The super big damage teams for Titus, they're running 6-star Crushing Ren Titus, makes sense. Empower Titus, makes sense. But they're also running Lammasu with Yumiko. So that combination is just nuts because Lammasu resets Yumiko and Yumiko resets the team. And that's what keeps the damage flowing forever and ever and ever and ever. So in this case, we don't have the continual reset of Yumiko, but we have very good continual turn meter of the whole team. So this way, we hope that we can at least cycle through some of the turns quite a bit. The other problem here is that because we're cycling through all our turns so quickly, the Hydra turn counter actually works against us in that way. So it's not as efficient, but you can kind of see here, it does kind of work. But I kind of like the idea of adding on maybe a cooldown reduction champion in place of Oella instead of adding more turn meter. That would actually probably go a long way as well. So I think in the future, if I were to improve this team, either go with Griptuk or maybe Donatello would be really good here. I want to try him out. And then obviously maybe even adding Lammasu in here as well. In addition with Nekmothar, for example, would be pretty cool. I think could work out pretty well. So there's a couple ways to do it. But anyways, I'll show you guys the gear at the end of this video. We're nearing the we're nearing the end here. But you can kind of see here the big hit with 4 decapped heads. Pretty good damage, right? 300 million damage or so. So pretty solid there. Let's skip to the end and I'll show you guys the results of everything. Guys, coming near the end of the run here, 10.5 billion damage for this team, I think is pretty good. It's my personal best, better than my previous personal best by about 10% or so. So pretty solid. We've got some decent RNG. Titus didn't get eaten, which is the biggest good RNG that you can get. But yeah, we did pretty good. And I think our overall gameplay has been getting better with Titus, so we're just getting more familiar with it. I feel a little bit more comfortable with it, and of course comfortable talking about it and all that stuff. So yeah, here's the run. 10.73 billion damage here. I'm going to take a look. Nekmothar with what, 1.8 billion. The big thing with Nekmothar is that he is in a cursed set. So all the damage from the cursed set that's what he's getting. Incentive 4.4 million. Oella basically no damage. Hatter just under 1 billion. Again, in a he's getting the damage from the hexes. Wixwell 17 million. These are all War Master hits. And then Titus here with just under 8 billion damage. All right, let's lock it in and let's talk about the team champions builds here a little bit. Go about 44 billion Hydra damage there, so pretty good. Pretty happy with that one, of course, my personal best. Let's check out the champion builds here real quick. So let's start off with the Mad Hatter. We got Mad Hatter here in a Merciless set. Merciless gives you a chance to have 1 turn duration reduction. As well as give a little bit of crit damage. He's also my crit damage target champion. So what you want when you build a Hydra team is you want Titus not to be the first, not to be the highest crit damage champion, because the Devour mechanic will target the first highest crit damage champion, and then after that it's randomized. So as long as Titus is not the highest crit damage champion on their team, he's not going to get devoured first, and then after that it's just going to be random RNG for him to be devoured or not. So in this case we have Mad Hatter here as our crit damage target. Kind of check here, 378 crit damage. We need accuracy on him so that he can land his debuffs. Yeah, 300 speed. Got a little bit of, not too many stats here. In terms of the relic, we had to take the Talon to get more crit damage. We went with Cruelty. Having multiple champions with Cruelty is beneficial here because you can kind of see that the heads get destroyed and then come back up very quickly. So you have to have ways, multiple ways to basically reduce the defense on the heads before you go in for the big hits so that you do more damage. Masteries here, pretty flexible masteries on Mad Hatter. We went for Eagle Eye. Just because, you know, a little bit of accuracy, but you can definitely go for like War Master or another mastery if you want, if you have enough stats. Just going through the individual gear pieces here. Nothing too crazy. You guys can have a quick look. It's just speed, crit damage. Attack's not too important. We're kind of just picking whatever the fastest items are for him. Like we have resistance banner and stuff. Definitely not something that you want to build focus too much on, but there it is. Let's go with Wixwell. We got Wixwell here, a 9-piece protection set. Key thing here, you gotta make him fast, give him resistance. Like I said, we got 420 here. We do have some Hydra bonuses, so I'll go into that in a sec. And then we of course have accuracy to land his stuff. Same Titus that I use for my Chimera. We have Volcardiac Heart. So this is the big one, right? Because this provides the 3rd shield for Titus, and this increases Titus's overall damage. I think about 40% or something, 35 or 40%, somewhere around there. But it basically adds a bit of damage to your Titus hits. So this run would be much less without this relic. In terms of the stones, not too crazy here. In terms of what we need, brimstones. Yeah, brimstone's fine. War Master for Wixwell, pitching a little bit of damage. And these are the masteries for my Wixwell. 9-piece protection again. He does place a couple buffs, so he's getting some good damage boost for your whole team, especially Titus. Going over the individual pieces here, we're focusing on speed, accuracy, resistance. Also, we have 6.5k defense, which is defense tuned to my Titus for my Chimera team. And then we have Incenza here. Incenza, Void Legendary, of course. Stats here. You know, 300 speed, we got accuracy to do stuff. And she is a 9-piece protection set. Like I said, she does land a bunch of buffs on a single target, so it's good damage boost. And we do have Hydra bonus battles bonuses here, so I didn't cover that in the earlier champions. But you can kind of see what we're working with here. Basically, everybody's an extra 20 speed, and we do have ignore defense on everybody as well. So that's the big thing. The 20 speed is really big. No relics on Incenza here. Cruelty makes the most sense because she does have an AoE A1, AoE A2. And yeah, we went down to Eagle Eye there. Totally fine. A little bit flexible. You can go War Master as well. But yeah, we went for Eagle Eye. And yeah, individual stat pieces here. Speed, accuracy. That's basically it. And then if you can squeeze damage stats, it's fine. Squeeze HP stat. That is good as well for support. Kind of see here, this is our only protection banner, and that's what we're using here. We technically could add, I guess, this resistance banner, which gives 10 speed. No big deal. But yeah, that's something there. Next up, we have Owella. So a shield set Owella. You need a shield set on this team. Obviously, we're talking about a Titus team here. You need a shield set. And yeah, I have it on my Owella here. We got resistance and accuracy. She is my Chimera Owella as well. So she needs the resistance. We got the Journal of Necrosis on her, which is a really good relic. Fits her really, really well. Brimstone on her, it's fine. And then support, go down to Eagle Eye. Could go down to War Master if you have enough stats, or Unshakable if you want resistance. But yeah, these are the stats on her. You can go through the individual pieces. It's going to be speed, accuracy, resistance, HP percentage. And yeah, I understand these stats are, pretty hard to hit for most people. So these are pretty end game builds. Definitely just scale down if you can. I would focus on, of course, accuracy. And then if you don't hit the resistance stats, then bringing Owella is a huge, quality of life, right? Just easier for the stats. Nekmothar here, we got about 300 speed Nekmothar with accuracy. And he is going to be in a curse set. Now the curse set is really, really good. Curse and impulse. But curse set's really good because first of all, I can go through the poison cloud, so I don't need block buffs on this to properly apply hex. Second of all, it takes away the reliance on, Mad Hatter, because previously I was running Mad Hatter as the only hexer, and I find that not enough. I find that a little bit clumsy because a lot of times I'm waiting for the Mad Hatter to get the hex ability up, which I did not want to do anymore. So actually putting the hex set on Nekmothar, I had a feral set 9-piece on Nekmothar, I put it into a curse set and it ran way smoother, guys, way smoother. I think if you're running like a Yumiko or if you're running like a reset, then you can rely on just Mad Hatter. But if you're not running the cooldown reduction champions, then perhaps, you know, going for a curse set on a AoE champion makes the most sense. Perch Shadow here is really solid because Nekmothar cycles through his abilities way quicker, more turn meter boost and all that. It's really nice. I have him down to War Master, a little bit of damage. But yeah, X set here, really nice. Just going through the stats, speed, accuracy, and any kind of survivability is always good. We randomly have 100% crit rate on him. Yeah. So yeah, that's our Nekmothar. And then the star of the show here, we got our Titus. He's in 6-piece Merciless with the Zeal set. That's the most damage you can get on Titus for any content, I believe. Resistance here, and then obviously no crit rate needed, just big crit damage, big defense. Cat's Gaze for ignore defense boost, and then we have the big mythical gem here for 10% more damage. Heaven Cast up until 6 stars, then you go Crushing Rend, and then Masteries here, Helm Smasher makes the most sense. All right, guys. So hopefully we covered this team here in its entirety, going over the gear pieces here. If you guys can't do Zeal, go 6-piece Merciless. You know, maybe go Cruel set, crit damage set. But yeah, Merciless, you want as much ignore defense on your Titus as possible. And don't skimp out on the defense. Actually, it scales up really well on him. And also don't go crazy on the HP on your Titus. You want him with as low HP as you can get away with. Because HP actually reduces the damage of his A2. So if you guys didn't know that, make sure you guys build him out without as much HP. But yeah, anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Hopefully this was informative for you guys. I really like this team. I think it's mostly accessible for most people, and there's definitely substitutions. The big things you can't substitute is obviously Titus, and I would say Wixwell is probably not somebody that you can replace very easily. But everybody else, kind of replaceable, and there's definitely some more, you know, accessible options out there that make it all work. I would say I would recommend at least 2 buff extenders. And if you're running 2 buff extenders, probably need somebody with cooldown reduction, like team-wide cooldown reduction, so you get more buff extensions happening. If you don't have the cooldown reduction champions or multiple resets champions, I would probably run 3 extenders for just super smooth run here. And yeah, enjoy. Anyways, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about the team. If you guys have any suggestions for me, I'm happy to try it out. Let me know what's working for you guys, since we have Titus here for a couple months now. We definitely have some interesting builds from everybody and some cool ideas. Love to see it. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching until the end. Have a great day. Let me know in the comments below if this was helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.